Hey everyone, I'm Matt Houghton, the marketing guy at Evil Empire. I'm here to introduce you to our next Dead Cells DLC, Fatal Falls. We're adding 2 brand new biomes and a boss stage, just like we did with the Bad Seed. This new path follows Black Bridge and the Nest, so that's after you beat the Concierge or Mama Tick, and it's an alternative to Stilt Village, Clock Tower, and Slumbering Sanctuary, Forgotten Sepulchre. The first stage, Fractured Shrines, takes you across these horizontal paths of hell. Floating ledges are covered in traps and fragile ground, so you really need to be on your toes to avoid taking a long fall. To break up these horizontal stages, we've chucked in a few temples where you can enter a lovely vertical flow and just go to town on groups of enemies. Some new mobs introduced in this stage are suicidal crows that are more of a nuisance than anything. They don't really aim for you, they just get in the way. Much more dangerous enemies do exist here. There are cultist snakes that lob spears at you from a distance, and if they miss you, they'll teleport straight to the spear and give you a big smack with the tail. So you really need to either peg it away from them or deal with them quickly. You'll also be up against giant statues with whacking great big axes. These are another attempt at a kind of mini-boss, like the ticks in the morass, but this time you won't be locked in a room with them, so you have the option to run away, which might be tempting, but they're really worth defeating as they're guarding these massive treasure rooms with some lovely rewards inside. After the Fractured Shrines, you'll find yourself at the Undying Shores. You'll notice that it's constantly raining in the new levels. We really don't want you to feel any hope here. I think that this might actually be the most atmospheric biome that we've made so far. You've got those forks of lightning, driving rain, claustrophobic caves, that background stretching into the distance with the creepy lighthouse surrounded by shipwrecks, all that good stuff. Undying Shores is pretty different to the Fractured Shrines in that it's a fairly linear level. It's more of a straight vertical descent. You'll be spending some time outside in the storm, then swinging into some dank caves with cool lore rooms, and then marauding back out into the Tempest again. There are some very familiar looking enemies here. The failed experiments will not hesitate to attack you, including with their head, and when you kill them, they don't stay dead. Necromancer guys are roaming all over the level, and they revive any dead enemies within reach, and not just the failed experiments. Any enemy you kill here will leave this little spirit ball that the Necromancer will use to bring them back. But luckily, once you've killed the enemy a second time, they're finished for good, and if you kill the Necromancer controlling enemies, they all die with him. No DLC is complete without a boss, so we've introduced a sickle-wielding gardener who lives in a creepy old ruin and employs mushroom boys to help beat the crap out of you. I'd like you to discover this guy on your own, so I'm going to leave it there. You're probably wondering what new tools you have to murder your way through the island with. So there are 7 new weapons in this DLC. The snake fangs teleport you to the nearest enemy, as long as they're reasonably close, which lets you get some pretty slick gameplay going on, especially if you have a speed bonus. They also deal poison damage over time to the enemies that you've hit, so it's cool to dash around a group of enemies, 1-2 hitting each one until they just die from 1,000 cuts. Lightning rods are pretty simple. You place the rods in the ground, and once you place the final one, these lightning bolts come down and strike in between the rods, so it's handy for dealing with big groups of weak enemies or those pesky flying mobs that you always see coming around. The Iron Staff is a bit more complex. The first hit can parry melee attacks, and the combo after a successful parry inflicts criticals. Basically, it's reliant on good timing, and you can screw yourself if you mess it up, but if you get good, then you get to combo critical hit a stunned enemy, so the effort will pay off really nicely. Continuing with the parries, and the Cocoon is a new power that parries around you in all directions and inflicts damage, so it's perfect for those situations when you're just getting mobbed from all sides. On top of this, a successful parry resets the cooldown, so you can just use it continuously if you need to and you got the timing right. Next up is a melee and ranged weapon called the Ferryman's Lantern. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. Kill an enemy to gather a soul, charge the lantern to shoot the souls as projectiles, and you profit. When you're fighting a boss, the last combo hit will grab a soul, so you're not stuck without the ranged option against the big boys. The Scarecrow Sickles fires out these 2 spinning scythe things that will rotate around you. They don't actually target enemies, but they move around you very quickly, so you don't really have to worry about that. They inflict increasingly powerful critical hits after each hit. Last but not least, we have the Flying Sword Serenade. This new pet is classified under brutality, so there's now a companion for each colour. That's Mushroom Boy for survival, the Owl for tactics, and obviously Serenade for brutality. This means that you now have an option to use a little buddy regardless of the stat that you're using. Serenade has 2 states. It either flies around the hero independently attacking nearby enemies, or you can take it in your hand and use it as a normal sword. When using it in hand, you'll deal critical hits to the enemies that it had previously been targeting while flying around. So for maximum benefit, you need to cycle between letting Serenade fly around, stack some hits on enemies, then grab it and critical hit the injured enemies to death. That's about it for this vlog. If you want to get the Fatal Falls DLC, then it's already available on PC and consoles, so that's Nintendo Switch, Xbox and PlayStation. It's $4.99 or whatever the equivalent is wherever you're living. Thanks from everyone here at Evil Empire and Motion Twin for your continuing support, and we hope that 2021 is a great year for you all. Bye.